Kids Quarantine Creative Activities by Art and Soul Miami. Today we'll be making a couple different projects using salt, watercolor, glue, and paper. First project is to do a salt painting card. Here we used a heavier stock white paper, folded it in half, and my son wanted to make a card with a saying on it. We used that saying with Elmer's glue, where he could squeeze it out, and I helped him with the wording. Next, we took table salt, put it in a cup ahead of time, and then shook it over the salt in general, and you'll notice that the white paper is in a tray. Once the salt was covering all of the glue, then we held the paper up within the tray that the paper is sitting, and it caught all the excess salt into the corner of the tray. Here we're using watercolor paint and a little cup of water along with a paintbrush to just quickly dab a color that we like and then let it run through the salt. It makes a really pretty picture. Next, we decided to cut up a sponge and use that as a textured background for his card. And voila, here is the card. It's drying inside the tray. One tip to notice is if you press down with a paintbrush on the salt too heavily, you'll notice that it spreads. Here you can see the letters that my son had are now kind of bleeding into one another, and that's because he had a heavier hand with the paintbrush. All you need to do is dab, don't press. Another option is creating a journal cover or a notebook cover by using a hole puncher. You'll still want to fold the paper in half and put construction paper inside and create the hole punch together as a grouping. Then be sure to grab some string and thread it through the holes to make ties to bind the book together. Here we're just testing out glue as a little bit of a pattern and letting it drip and doing something abstract. You'll notice the salt going into the dish like we talked about before to catch any of the excess. You don't need a lot of paint and you don't need a lot of water. Just dip the brush into the water and you'll notice as you lightly dab it onto the salt, the color quickly runs through, and the more color you put, the darker it gets. It's fun to experiment with different colors over the same parts of salt because they begin to change the color and make new colors. You can also use watercolor on the background that is not salt related or with the glue, just to give it more of a complete or cohesive look. Or you can just stick with a pattern to anything that you have placed with the glue. Here we tried using the sponge again for an abstract background and tried letting the watercolor drip in different directions by moving the paper around and having the tray collect and catch the paint drops, which was easy to clean with a baby wipe. If you don't have salt or don't particularly care for doing a salt painting, then you can just use a sponge or use some textured items and do a colored background for your journal cover. Here we used some blue construction paper on the inside in addition to white, and we also used a hole puncher that had designs in it. Something simple, cute, easy to dry. You could write my journal, your name on it, something you want inspirational, and then stick the string in and tie it. This dries really quickly. The salt and glue drawings and paintings take a lot longer to dry. If you like content like this, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook at Art and Soul Miami.